The UFC has tried to put together Khabib Nurmagomedov and Tony Ferguson at least 5 times, 5 or 6 times now. And because of the pandemic, because of the fact that Khabib is currently locked down in Russia, according to, well, Khabib himself, it looks like this fight is in jeopardy for the foreseeable future. What's up, folks? Fred Richani, TSC, your home for sports news updates, interviews, and everything in between. If you're new here, please consider subscribing and enabling notifications. Khabib, via RT Sport, said the following in an interview. After talking to the UFC, we decided to fly over to the United Arab Emirates a month before the fight. I don't remember the exact date. I think it was March 19th or 20th. I'll have to check. But when we landed in Emirates, we learned that they were going to close the borders and no one will be able to leave or fly in with the exception of residents. So we had to fly back to Russia. Currently, I am in Dagestan and I am training and preparing every day, although I don't know what I am preparing for because after we came to Russia, we also learned that the borders are going to be locked. Same in the States, same like Europe, Emirates, everywhere. The whole world is in quarantine. And then here comes the key quote. So now I am hearing that they are looking to organize it with or without me. Okay, go ahead. Everyone should follow the laws. I'm not against it. I know that fighters need to feed their families and pay their bills. I know how hard it is for the fighter. Unless they fight, they aren't getting money. I am even hearing they are looking for an opponent for Tony because he's in the States and I'm in Russia. But I am not here on my own will. The UFC told me that this fight 100% isn't happening in the UFC. And even if it's not happening in the Emirates, it will happen on this side of the Atlantic. We discussed everything with the UFC. By that time, I already spent 5 weeks of hard training at AKA. Now I don't really know what's going on. It's really hard to train and cut weight when the whole world is locked down and you don't know what you're preparing for. But it's not the first time I've faced obstacles in my career. Wow. Now, Tony Ferguson and Khabib were supposed to fight April 18th in Brooklyn, New York. Of course, that ain't happening because Brooklyn right now, New York overall, is the epicenter of the coronavirus in the U.S. I'm here in New Jersey. We're lagging a little bit behind New York, but it's bad here too. A lot of the world's suffering economically, health-wise, a little bit of both. And, well, I think there's bigger things right now than sports. But Dana White, the UFC, their parent company Endeavor, despite making hundreds of millions of dollars in profit last year, want to trudge on. Here you have a fight between two of the all-time great lightweights, and that's no disrespect to the likes of Gilbert Melendez, Frankie Edgar, Eddie Alvarez, Ben Smooth Henderson, BJ Penn, and other greats that came before them. But these two guys are the 1A and 1B right freaking now. These guys are just absolute killers. The top of the top level. This is a legacy fight. This is just a big fight between two stars that people like and guys that put on exciting fights. So this is a legacy fight. And we're hearing multiple reports, including from ESPN, that the UFC is trying to do Justin Gaethje versus Tony Ferguson. And I love watching Justin Gaethje. He's a phenomenal fighter. But Tony Ferguson needs to fight Khabib. Khabib needs to fight Tony Ferguson. And you know what? If you want to be irresponsible and put on UFC 249, despite all the health risks and being an idiot and putting your fighters and producers at risk, be my freaking guest, dummy. But guess what? Khabib versus Ferguson should be delayed until they can safely, logistically put it on pay-per-view for everybody to see. Because what happens if Ferguson loses? People can say, oh, well, that means he wasn't that great, or blah, 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 and we'll get Gaethje and Khabib instead. No, that's not how MMA math works, okay? Styles make fights. These guys can barely freaking train right now, given the fact you have to be with a crowd of 10 people or less, according to the CDC. Maybe less at this point. So it's just, it's utterly ridiculous that UFC's trying to proceed with these shows, okay? There's millions of small businesses around the world, let alone in this country, that are being affected. They didn't have millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars in profits. They have to shut down, maybe permanently. Workers are getting laid off. And I'm going to cry for the UFC because they have to postpone a few shows. Wouldn't it make sense for them to postpone the shows, hold it off, wait for Khabib and Tony Ferguson to be able to safely travel, safely train? And you know what? If you have to do the show outside of American soil, so be it. But that way, you'd have a proper build-up, and you'd give fans the fight they've wanted to see. And here's the thing with this whole thing of UFC is losing money. And yes, UFC does have a lot of debt, at least their parent company has, to their investors. The reality is UFC gets a guarantee from ESPN no matter what. So in addition to their pay-per-view cut and merch and everything else, they get a guaranteed payout from ESPN. On top of that, they still have UFC Fight Pass and the revenues they get from that. And last time I checked, I'm pretty sure the UFC merch store is still open online. Plus, they're still selling EA Sports UFC 3. And if you haven't noticed, a lot of people are playing video games these days because they have to be at home. So I'm not going to cry for UFC. I'm not going to cry for Dana White, but I am going to feel bad for Tony Ferguson. I am going to feel bad for Khabib. And look, I don't care about the trash talk and everything else. Let's keep it real here. These two guys are the toughest of the tough. And Khabib absolutely is not backing down from any fight. So that's stupid myth from some dorks, okay? Let's just put that to bed right there. This is a fluid situation. This is a unique situation. Frankly, this is a dangerous situation, and I don't care if you're a top-level athlete, somebody Dana White's age, or whomever. This virus spares no one. No one. Economically or health-wise. So, as far as I'm concerned, I think they should delay this fight. I do not want to see Ferguson versus Gaethje, at least not right now, maybe down the road. The only fight they could make that might realistically make up for all this mess is Conor McGregor versus Tony Ferguson. And even then, it's irresponsible to put it on the fly. It's irresponsible for Conor McGregor's brand and the lack of preparation. Hell, Conor McGregor seems to be taking this whole crisis more seriously than the UFC, than the WWE, and a lot of government officials around the world, which is crazy to think about Conor McGregor being the voice of reason. So good luck putting that one together, UFC, at least anytime soon. So anyway, folks, I want to hear from all of you. Do you think we will eventually get Khabib versus Ferguson? Do you think it'd be a smart idea for Ferguson to fight before facing Khabib? And do you predict that the UFC will somehow, some way, through hell, high water, and a pandemic, put on UFC 249? Let me know. Leave a comment below. If you enjoyed this update, please smash that like button, subscribe, enable notifications for more updates like this. And until next time, as always, enjoy the fights and please stay safe.